Welcome back to my channel. In today's lesson, I will be teaching you how to create and use the switch selection statement. Okay? First thing you want to do is open up your compiler, your IDE. As before, I'm using Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. And then you want to click on Create. The switch statement is considered a multiple selection structure. It also goes by the name case statement. The switch or case statement allows you to perform a large number of alternatives based on the value of a single variable. This variable or expression must evaluate to an integer or a string. It can be used with a double, a decimal, or a float, but it is inappropriate. I'm reading from the book, but it is appropriate for short, int, long, char, string data types. The journal format of the switch statement I will be showing you. Okay, so we're creating a console program. I just wanted to get the definition out of the way before I actually dig in and show you how to create a switch selection statement. Some people call it an expression. Some people call it statement. C# call it a statement. Okay, so I'm going to call this just going to call it switch statement. And I'm going to say create. And I'll be using the .NET 5 framework. So a switch statement is another way to be able to make a choice, have the program be able to make a choice based on different data given to it. Okay. Our last video was about if and else statements. These two are basically similar, but the difference with the switch statement is that it is much cleaner, I would say, to code than would be the if and the else if and the else. But the 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 power lies with usage. Many programmers, they probably prefer more using the if and the else if and the else statement because you can add more variables inside of the test than you could with the the switch statement, because the switch statement, the expression can only be one data type. So that's the difference. Okay, so let me remove that. And the first thing I want to do, because I will be using the console class, a couple of methods out of the console class. Again, I'll put using static system console. Once again, this is a namespace, and the namespace is going to allow us to use the method console that's inside of the system class, and it's a static class. So it's referring to the class whenever you use this method. You cannot recreate this method. You're only using the method. You can't create an instance of the method, and you can only create an instance of the class. And every time that you call the method console write line or console read line or anything within that class, that system class, that static system class, you're only creating an instance of that class, not you're not recreating that actual method. It's basically a read-only method. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, as before, I'm going to create this program. Going to be basically the same as the if and the else if and the else video that we did previously. It's going to use the same writing, but it's just going to use a different element, which is the switch statement. So I'm going to say int num1. You remember the num1, right? Int num1. But the difference with this time, the way we're going to write it, is we're going to use a comma, and we're going to go like that. And we're going to create multiple variables of the int data type on the same line to try to save some space. And we're going to put another comma. Comma allows you to continue on the same line using creating the same type of variable, which is an integer variable. Okay, so now we're done naming our int variables, our integer variables. Now we're going to create a string variable, and we're going to call that string variable answer. Now we're not going to give answer a value, just like we didn't give the integers, the int num1, num2, num3, or answer2 any values. We're just going to keep them there as placeholders. So whenever we ask which number is greater, we have a place to put the answer that the user is going to put in. Okay, so now that we have answer, we're going to say write line, but we no longer have to put console. We no longer have to put console in the front of the method to fully qualify the method, and the class for to use the method. So we're just gonna only have to put write line. I don't know why I like to do that. I just don't like the red arrow sign, the squiggly line. I don't like it, and I can't hardly finish my code if I see that there. It always prompts me when I could wait to change it and correct everything, but I just have to get rid of it because it's annoying to see the red squiggly line. But it tells you what's going on in your code, so it's a good thing. But I don't want it. I don't want to see it often. Maybe I'm traumatized by the beginning of learning how to program and it always being a part of my program. So whenever I'm creating something and I see that red squiggly line, even though I haven't finished the statement, I always get rid of it. Okay, so now we're going to say, remember, a write line prints something to the screen, and what it's going to print is which number is greater, 1 or 2. I think we should put a little space in between this 2 and this question mark. Oh, yeah. Okay, so next line of code we're going to have to do, we're going to have to say answer. We're going to have to say answer equals read line. So remember, we no longer need to use the console. We no longer have to fully qualify the name. So I could remove this console, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just leave it in the sense IntelliSense. Went on ahead and put it there. It'll still work. Nothing will happen to the program if I leave it there or take it away. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now whenever the user is prompt asking which number is greater, 1 or 2, the answer to their input is going to go inside this variable, this integer variable, no, this string variable named answer. Maybe I should make a little space to clear everything out. Yeah. So the, the program is going to ask you this question, and then your answer is going to go into this string variable, which is answer. And when it goes in, it's going to go in as a string, not a number, because remember that the integers are numbers, and they're whole numbers, single numbers. They do not have a decimal point. Now, when you put in data into the computer, it's going in as a string. So because it's going in as a string, it has to go into a string variable. It cannot go into an integer variable. In order for you to put a string value into an integer variable, you would have to convert the integer variable into a string variable. And the way you do that is I'm gonna show you right now. You're gonna use that same, remember that answer 2, which was created? Answer 2 is an integer, remember? So we're gonna put this string variable, which the user put in, and the user may pick the number 1 or 2 or even 3, but whatever the answer is, it's going into this variable as a string, okay? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna need to um, what they call encapsulate that value into the data type integer. And the way we do that, as before with the first video, is we use this method, int parse, and we're going to parse the variable answer, which is a string. So we're going to say this information that was put inside of this string, which the name is answer. We want you to take what's inside here, and we want you to encapsulate it to make it look like an integer value in order for this integer value variable to accept it, because this integer variable would not accept a string variable because they're two different data types. So you have to encapsulate it to make it behave as if it was an integer value. Okay, so you have that. You should understand that. Okay, if you don't understand that, you can go to the next video, or you could wait till we go up to other videos where I'll show you the specifics of this method, the parse, and then we'll run into the convert method. Okay, so now we have that. We'll begin with our switch statement. So in order to create a switch statement, you're going to use the keyword switch. And you're going to use the open and close. Okay, and you're going to say answer. See, IntelliSense already know what we want to do here. Okay, so we're saying we want this switch to evaluate the variable answer each time within these cases. So our first case is going to be 0. So if the user types in 0, we want the program to respond with a print message saying your number is too low. Okay, so whenever the user types in 0 as this write line method asks the question, Whenever the user types in 0, the computer is going to say, your number 0 is too low. Okay? Now, go to the next line. We're not going to create a break yet. We're going to say once again, say right line. Because remember, we don't have to fully qualify it, the name. And remember these line breaks? I'm going to use those to keep the code looking clean. Now that I have those two lines in, I'll use something called a break. What the break does is it allows the program, as it's running, to break out of this block of code and go to the next block of code, which will be case 1. Okay, in case 1, we're going to say if the value is 1, which the user put in, you see over here, case 1. This could have been, we could have had this as case 20, case 40. It could have been any number, okay? But we're dealing with an integer, but we're dealing with this integer, and it can only take an integer value, so it'll have to be a numeric value. So this is a numeric value. 0, numeric value, can be any number as long as it doesn't have a decimal point and it's not a letter or any other character besides numerical. Okay, so go to the next line of code, say right line, and we're going to say, this is case 1, we're going to say, sorry, but 1 is not greater than 2. Make a little space there. I don't know if I should put the numbers or the letters. I mean, the numbers or the words. I think for simplicity, maybe I should leave the numbers because we're asking for an input in a numeric form. So I'll just put the numbers instead of the words. Okay, maybe I might want to even put this here. You always want to put details in your code to make your code more readable to the user, including yourself, so you can have a good idea of what's going on inside the code. Remember, don't forget your semicolons. C# will holler at you, scream at you if you don't have your semicolons after the IDE begins to compile and run the code. Okay, so we have sorry, but 1 is not greater than 2, and that is the truth. And so what we want to do, let's make some space here so our code wouldn't look so clogged up. So I'm going to do another right line so I can have space in the code, and put the new line break. I always like two lines upon the break. Okay, so now we're going to use the break. I'm going to break out of there. And we're going to go to the next case. So the next case will be, oops. I don't know why I just like to have my stuff all cleaned up. And so the next case is going to be case 2, which is the correct answer. So in case 2, remember I'm going to want me some space so it could look all clean up. So you notice with after I finish each block, I put the break statement there so I can break out of this block of code and create a new block of code. So the break method has to be in there, or break state. Okay, so do console. Oh, I don't need the console. Let's put right line. I was so used to using the console method, that class, that I forgot that I didn't need it no more. And that's how it is. Sometimes you get so busy in your programming details, you forget the simple things. Okay, so we have the number 2. So we're going to say your number is correct. That's going to be the output. Okay, just keeping it simple. Also, we're going to remember to put those back lines, so those breaks. And I didn't put any up top, so I'm going to include them in the code up top. I'll just include one break line after each sentence. And I'll make this only one line break. Okay, and then I put another right line. Okay, and now what do I supposed to put here? Do you remember? I'm supposed to put what? You guessed it. I'm supposed to put break. And we go to the next one. And this will be case 3, which is a higher number. And we're going to print out with this case 3, your number is too high, just in case they put the number 3. Okay, I'm going to break out of there. Okay, and in the end, we're going to use something called the default statement. In the default statement, we do not need to put evaluation in there. We don't need to put an expression. All we need to do is put what we want to pop up on the screen at the bottom. And of course, the first thing we want to pop up is some space, because I have to have my space so I can look clear, like my last name. Okay, so we're going to put your number is too high, sorry, or we can put your answer is wrong. So, right. Oh, I could put The answer is 2, and your answer, now, let me just put your answer is wrong. And our favorite word, pal. Your answer is wrong, pal. You really done it this time. Okay, so okay, and then we put our break. And our program is completed. So now we're going to run our program. Let's save it first. Always don't forget to save your program. Okay, so we have what we want, and we're going to run our program to see if it's functional. As I said before, the switch statement is a lot like the if, but the difference with the if is the if is more detailed than, and you can use more, it has more flexibility than does the switch statement have. Okay, and there we have it. Which number is greater, 1 or 2? So if I put 5, what do you think will happen? Your answer is wrong, pal. The computer has the intelligence to be able to differentiate, because remember, we never included 5. We never said anything about 5, what to do with 5. We said what to do with the number 3 if they put 3, but we never mentioned 5. But instead, and still, the program knows what to do with the number 5, which is the wrong answer. So we're going to run the program again. Or what if we put the number 30? You still have the wrong answer. So the program knows how to handle an answer that's wrong. We're going to run it again, and we're going to put a low answer. Oops, what did I just do? I closed the program. Okay, let me just leave. I usually like the full screen, so I could block out everything on the side. So what if we put the number 1? Sorry, but 1 is not greater than 2. So your program, using the switch statement, it's able to almost recognize immediately that you have the wrong answer. It's a basic artificial intelligence that you're putting into the code. You're telling the code how to maneuver based on the data that you're giving it. So in this case, it's a basic selection structure. It selects which way to go within the code, which piece of code to run. And then in this case, it was told to run the sorry, but number 1 is not greater than number 2. Now, we're going to put 0. What if we put 0? Did we use 0 yet? Your number 0 is too low. It even knows how to handle the number 0. Okay? So what if we put 2, the number 2, which is the right answer? Let's see if it recognizes it. Your number is correct. So we've given our program some intelligence on how to find the right answer by the data that is given or not given. Okay, so that there brings our video to an end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a chance to write down the code that we just built here, and every 10 seconds I'll scroll down the code, because you can pause the video and write everything down. And if you wanted to, you could have put your using system namespace. Remember this, using static system console. And what that does, make a little space, what that does, it's a namespace that automatically fully qualifies the method, so you no longer have to use the method's class, which is console. So I would put that I would always put that in at the top of my code, so that I won't always have to fully qualify my code by using the console or for the write line or the console for the read line. Okay, so it's been about 10 seconds or more already. That should have allowed you enough time to get down all of the code. And don't forget your semicolons at the end. Very important, because it tells the code where the code, it tells the ID where the code ends. Okay. Make a little space here. Try to always put a little space in between your blocks of statements for readability purposes. You want your code to be more legible. And I could have pushed this over. Python would never allow me to have this code like this. They'll want everything lined up. And if the code was in a different block, one block would have to be here, the other one be here. And Python, I don't have a problem with Python, but I just like to see where my code ends using these semicolons and my squiggly lines, my squiggly brackets. See my squiggly brackets? I love these things. Squiggly brackets. Tell me where my block of code begins and where it ends. Beautiful. See, we got 4 squiggly brackets here, and we should have 4 squiggly brackets to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the open and close. When you begin a block, you open it. These are opening blocks. And when you finish a block, you close the block. That's what these blocks are for. Open and close brackets. Okay, that brings our video to an end. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Give the video a like if it was helpful. And don't forget to click on the notification button. Thank you, and have a great day.